An art journal tutorial, Imagine, by Creative Katie. That's me, Karen Burchell. Take time to hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner and you won't miss upcoming tutorials and video series. Watch as we take these supplies and turn it into this beautiful art journal page. Supplies used in this product are in the description box.
Hi everybody, it seems like it's been a long time since I've done anything in my journal. So today I'm in my mixed media Canson journal, and these are the pages that I've done so far. February of the year, my cover shot picture for my mixed media technique tags, this one, which I just love the background. I'm going to turn to the next one, and what I'm going to do first is just tape off the spine. Now there is a little bit of a line here. I don't know if you can see it, just very faint. There's kind of an indentation there. So that's the line that I'm just going to put this against, and I just am doing this so that my coils don't get all caked up with stuff. I'm also, as you can see here, I did not do anything on the opposite pages. They tend to get scuffed up, and that's so I can, it doesn't get all mucked up, and two, I can take them out and cut them and frame them properly should I want to do that. So what I'm going to do here is just put a layer of white gesso on. This stencil's from Americana and it's called Segmented Swirls. It is one of my favorites. Works on so many varieties of things. So I'm going to put white gesso, take advantage of the fact that it's very thick, through the stencil. Now I could use modeling paste. I'm just choosing not to because A, this will dry faster, and you know, it gives a bit of a different look. I'm not going to get it everywhere, so let's just put some of this out on my craft mat. Now I'm just going to clean the stencil and dry this because I want to put some down here as well. And I don't want to muck that up. So you can see you're going to get some very nice texture.
So now that this is perfectly dry, I am going to use my Americana craft paints just to show that you can use something other than heavy-bodied acrylics, and it works just fine. I find the Americana fairly highly pigmented. The color is there, um, and I like some of the colors that you can get with it without mixing and stuff. So I'm picking kind of jewel tones, and I'm going to water this down just a bit. And I've picked analogous colors, the colors that show up next to each other on the color wheel. And I know because of that that they are going to blend nicely. So I don't want to have a patch of blue and a patch of purple and a patch of the tealy aqua color. I want them to mix and blend and make other shades and tones on the page. So I'm working rather quickly, and I'm using an old brush, and I'm kind of trying to get it into all that lovely texture that we put on the page when we put the gesso through the stencil. I want to cover all of that up, so I'm doing that. There I'm showing the analogous colors and showing that, I'm not going to make mud if I put all these colors on at the same time when it's wet. I'm just working this in as I go, and it seemed to me that I put the least amount of blue on, but the blue seems to have taken over. In real life, more of the purple shines through and the teal. You lose some of that on camera here. And I'm just adding as I go. You can apply this with your fingers. You can also apply it with a baby wipe if you choose. Each way is going to look somewhat different. I just want to make sure I have good solid coverage and a mixture and a blend that I'm happy with. Now I decide to do something that I have never done before. I decide to get a baby wipe and rub gently over the gessoed areas to remove some of the acrylic paint. Now the gesso will act as a resist. Now since I didn't plan to do this, it may have taken a little bit longer to get the paint off because it dried. So if I was to do this again, I might have done half of it and then removed some of the paint with a baby wipe. But I just had to work a little harder. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, I'm not sure if I like it. I like it because I want to kind of get this swirly, ethereal, magical kind of feel on this page. This technique really brought out the gessoed surfaces in a way that you wouldn't otherwise get. If I had painted first and then put the gesso through the stencil, everything would be white. So we kind of get a mixture here. And I'm just removing it, putting a little bit more pressure. I took off a little bit too much paint there, so I'm just adding it back on. And even as I attempted this technique, I'm telling myself that, I give myself permission that if this doesn't work, I can put another layer of a coat of paint on top. And all I've lost is a little bit of paint and a little bit of time. I'm just touching up that area, letting it dry, and then just removing some a little bit more gently. You can use rubbing alcohol to remove if the acrylic paint is more dry or drier, and that will help take off the paint, but I didn't have to resort to that. Now, because I'm going for this ethereal look, I am going to add some gold. Now, I'm showing you that across from the blue is that yellow gold color. Those are complementary colors. What's right across each other on the color wheel are complementary colors. They will look good together. They will pop off each other. You just can't mix them when they're wet, because when they're wet, they will make mud, but when you put them after they're dry. Now, I was attempting to do some smooshing here and I did not like the effect. So because my background so far is acrylic, it's permanent. So I have a little bit of time, I can grab the baby wipe and get rid of it. So I'm using the blending tool and I'm just putting on some of this thinned out gold paint. And this is Artist Loft brand. And I'm just kind of swirling it on top of the swirls that are there. Again, this is to build up that ethereal, magical feel. And, you know, who am I kidding? You know I love my shimmer. This was my original plan, was to do this without having taken off the paint. So this gives a little bit of a different effect. And I rather like the end effect of having taken off the paint with the baby wipe and then added this little bit of gold. There's not much there, but it does show up. I'm just edging the papers with gold since I have it all on my applicator here. You really can't see the amount of shimmer that shows up here. And those felt applicators, excuse me, I just throw in the tub of water and clean them out with Murphy's oil soap and detergent when I do my cleaning of the brushes. So I'm giving this a good dry. Now I have this die cut, and it's basically a mask that says Imagine. And I cut out some of these dragonflies with my Silhouette Cameo. I was just practicing cutting out cut files on the silhouette. Now they're obviously the wrong color now. They just kind of fall into the background. So I'm going to have to adjust something there. And they were kind of the start of this page. They were something that's just been sitting on my table. And I said, okay, I have to use these. Now, what kind of background do I want? So I have the word Imagine. And this is just, like I said, it's vinyl. It's a mask. What I'm going to do is use a black Inktense pencil. You can use a watercolor pencil. You can use regular pencil. I'm using the watercolor pencil because it's going to, if I make a mistake, I can erase it with a wet baby wipe. Also, when I add the acrylic paint, when I paint in this area, it's just going to dissolve into that, so it kind of gets rid of it. So that's my reasoning for using the Inktense pencil, watercolor pencil. The Stabilo I find a little too soft for this purpose. It doesn't give me that fine point that I like as much. I have not mastered cutting out word stencils so that all the pieces stay where the centerpieces stay. You got to create a bridge there, and I've been trying it. Haven't been completely successful yet. I apologize that that's off the screen. So there is my word, Imagine. Now you'll notice that I did leave with my plan of when I put the stencil, the gesso through the stencil, I did pretty much leave that space there because I knew I was going to put my word there. In this page, I had the composition pretty much set up. So that allowed me to not put some gesso. Other times I put it wherever, and sometimes it makes it a little more difficult because it's a little bumpier. Now, 9 times out of 10, I grab my script stencil, stamp, and as you can see, it's right there, and stamp. My initial plan was to stamp it with gold, but I already have some gold on there, so went for black. And then I decided I'm going with this bubble stamp. I rarely use it, so in the spirit of hashtag use your supplies or hashtag use your stash 2017, I am going to use something that I don't normally use. And I'm so glad I did. I think the little bubbles kind of added to the ethereal effect of the whole page. The script would have looked lovely, and I highly recommend, if you don't have a script stamp, to get one, because it has been so used, and I love, love, love its effects. So you can see just that little bit of black there, and I stamped with acrylic paint, and I put it on with the Ranger felt applicator. It's very subtle, the addition of this bubbles stamp, but it does add. Like I said, I want that ethereal, magical kind of feeling. So now that I have the black paint there, I'm just going to liquefy it a little bit more, and using a small round brush, I'm just now going to paint the letters of the word on there in black. And if you're not that precise, you can always go over this after it's completely dry with a micron pen to make sure the edges you get those straight edges. I didn't have to do that. I feel quite comfortable painting with acrylic paints. I think it's a throwback from my folk art painting days. This part of the video I've sped up to double time. I wanted to keep it as close to real time as possible, but I also understand most people don't want to watch an hour-long video, and that was the amount of video time in total that this video was. It took me, a good hour to do this page from beginning to end. Not including some of the drying time, because I did most of the drying off camera. So just so you have an idea of how long it actually takes. And I would say that is probably the fastest that I would do this size journal page. I had an idea. My idea pretty much stayed through. I wasn't really presented with any problems along the way. Everything went fairly smoothly for this page. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes I don't know where I'm going, so there's a lot of stop-start. There's figuring things out as I go, or things just simply don't work out, and you have to change your plan. And none of us are exempt from that feeling. Now, since these dragonflies are not the right color, I had cut them out of from a jelly print that I actually didn't like, and they were just kind of a trial more than anything. I'm now just going to paint them black. I have the black paint out, and I love, love, love using silhouettes. If you're unsure of what to do to match your background with the focal point, one of the ways to kind of avoid that and get some amazing effects is to use silhouettes. Use black or use white. I am not a neat creator. By the time I'm done, I've got everything out on my desk. I've got a big, huge mess. So now, again, I have the black paint out, and I'm just going to edge my paper just to frame it. And because I have the black on the words and the black for the dragonflies, I want to add that black on a little bit more. I don't want just a fine line. I want kind of a smudged look. And yes, I could have created this in numerous other ways. I just happen to have the paint right handy. Just taking a peek at how this is looking along this straight edge. It's a little bit difficult to get the paint in there. Now the dragonflies, before I glued them down with my gel, my matte gel medium, I did put them in several different positions, and I took a picture with my phone. And that's a good technique to using when you're not sure, because then you can look at it and you can compare, and then you have an actual picture of it, so in case you forget where you put them. If I was to do this one again, I might have gone back and used my silhouette and cut some smaller dragonflies, but in the spirit of using your stash, using your supplies, I was just using what was there. So I'm really liking how this has turned out, and I'm just showing you how I took pictures of the placements, and that just gives me an idea. We typically, we're all visual and we know what we like, so play with it. So because of where the placement of my dragonflies is, I now know that I can put the dots on the word imagine. And I'm just adding kind of the antennae or arms, legs, I'm not sure what they're called, of the dragonfly in, because they fell off when I cut. And I'm using my Sakura jelly roll in gold. And you do have some time to remove something with a wet baby wipe if you make a mistake. So that's always a great thing to know. They tend to be more permanent once they're fully dried, but you do have time to play. So I am just going around and, kind of eyeballing where I think the letters connect. To do this, you make sure that everything is completely dry and cool. I found that the micron pens and the pit pens and the jelly rolls don't like it if the page is hot, if you've been using a heat tool on it. Now I gave it a try on the dragonfly to use the gold, and I really didn't like it. It did not look good in my mind. So again, I get out the baby wipe and so I grab my charcoal pencil, and I just purchased at the dollar store. It comes in soft, medium, and hard, and I like using the soft one. And I'm getting a sharp edge, and I'm just outlining the dragonfly and then smudging it. And I think that I really like that look. Again, it adds to that ethereal, foggy, misty, magical feeling that I'm attempting to create here. And I'm happy with how it ended up. It ended up very close to the picture I had in my head, and that doesn't always happen. So some of my dragonflies coming up, and I'm going to have to do a little bit of a touch-up later. No worries. This just kind of adds a little bit of shadow to it. So I decide that I need a little bit more gold. It's me. So I liquefy some of the gold paint and with a fan brush just apply splatter. And I want the page to lie as flat as possible because I don't want drippage, I just want splatters. And the splatters seem to unify the whole page. And again, helps me create the overall effect. So this concludes this page. Enjoy the pictures that are coming up. Leave a comment in the comment box. I love reading and I comment back to everyone. Subscribe to my channel. Share this with anyone you think might be interested. There's a close-up of some of the lovely texture that's revealed by rubbing off the paint on the gessoed surface. Close-up of the bubble stamp and all the elements that exist. I really like how my page turned out. It happened just the way it was pictured in my brain, which doesn't always happen. And I thank you for joining me on this, and I hope you give this technique a try. Bye.